And he had this mentor, and he would tell him, like, look, just go ask and start practicing, be prepared. I just want to thank you so much for joining us and being a part of our program. It's been a great year, as I stated before, and I'm truly thankful for you. But even more, it's a joy that we can put a team together to pour into you, that you may take these seeds and water them so that they may grow and sprout into the wealth and the direction to change your family. Because from what I remember, this is what you guys wanted most. And we highlighted a few things here that we talked about multiple times. We talked about your BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. Josh, you were talking about 500 units, but we're going to 5,000 units. We wanted to know your superhero power, and that's why I wore my t-shirt. Actually, it's my favorite t-shirt, but I do want you to utilize your superhero power, because that's what's going to catapult you into your goals. That's what's going to catapult you to changing your life. And look, normally I sit around and I tell multiple stories, and give you this long, drawn out speech, but I really don't want to do that today. I just want to share 3 stories, because these are the stories that I keep hearing over and over, the ideas that you guys keep talking about. You hear and know. You hear no all the time. Well, I got a story for that. It's one of my favorite from Les Brown is Mr. Butterball. And Les Brown, I don't know if you know, he's actually a home guy from Ohio. And he wanted to be a DJ. And he had this mentor, and he would tell him, like, look, just go ask and start practicing, be prepared. Because they said it's one thing to be prepared and not have an opportunity, but to have an opportunity and not be prepared. And so what he did was he told him to go get an interview. So he went to the radio station down in Florida, and he walked into the office. He said, hello, Mr. Butterball. My name is Les Brown, and I would love to get a job with you being a DJ. And he said simply, have you ever done any DJing? He was like, no. And he said, well, get out of my office. So Les walks out of the office. And then he's like, okay, he went back the next day. He said, hello, Mr. Butterball, I'm back again. And I was just checking, seeing if somebody might have quit today or yesterday. And he's like, man, didn't I tell you yesterday, get out of here and don't come back. So he goes back to his mentor and he tells him, hey, I've asked this guy 2 times and they keep telling me no. And the mentor told him, said, look, go back. Because for some people, it's just in their nature to say no. Sometimes it takes people 7 times before they can get to a yes. So he went back, Les Brown, motivated again. He went back after him and he said, hello, Mr. Butterball. And he says, Les, what are you doing here again? He said, well, I don't know. I thought somebody might have got sick or somebody might have died. See if you got any space for me. He said, man, get out of my office and don't come back again. And he did it again. Mr. Butterball kicked him out again. And then he went one more time. And Mr. Butterball saw him. As soon as he saw him, he said, boy, did not go get me some coffee. And that was the beginning. Les Brown became a gopher for the radio station. And he kept working at it. And then from there, he became the gopher and the driver. And he didn't even have a driver's license, but he sure did act like it. When like the Pips, Gladys Knights and the Pips came into town, he would drive them all over the city into their hotel till they get to the event. And then finally, he had his opportunity. He'd been practicing all this time, 3-4 years later. And it just so happened one of the main DJs was drunk one night and he passed out in the middle of his scene. And he called up Mr. Butterball called and said, hey boy, it looks like he's not gonna make it. Do you know how to operate it? He said, yes, I do, Mr. Butterball. He said, well, you go on in there and you control it, but don't you say a word. And Les was like, Don't you worry about it. And so then he called up his mama and his girlfriend. He said, hey, I'm about to be on the air and I'm about to show my stuff off. And he just waited and waited. The next thing you know, the guy passed out. He took up on the air and he got in and he became the DJ that night. All because he didn't quit. He didn't quit. And there's gonna be many times you're gonna put in multiple offers, or they're gonna reach out to multiple investors. You'll never win if you quit. Sometimes in these deals, you gotta get aggressive. You gotta go after it. You can't just sit back and hope and pray. Like, I'll never forget, I used to pray about and speaking in faith, and speaking as if it was, although it's not. I'm gonna be this multi-millionaire. I'm gonna have these nice, amazing cars and the nice clothes, and I'm gonna be able to leave a legacy for my family. For so many times, it would not happen because I didn't have any action steps. I wasn't aggressive. I didn't go after it. It reminds me of in college, we had these hunting dogs. We had 2 tracking dogs, and one that was, we call it the finisher, called him Rocco. My 2 tracking dogs, I remember we were going out hunting for wild boar. Now let me tell you, it's gonna be a little aggressive story here, but it was these 2, we would hunt for wild boar, some wild pig, and once we enclosed the wild boar, the tracking dogs would get right by them, get right up to the boar, just nip at the tail and then nip at its nose and then it nip at the tail and it would jump back and forth. Then Rocco would come. In game, right at the jump. In game. Sometimes you gotta be aggressive and you just gotta go after it. You gotta go after the fight. So many of y'all dancing in front of the pig and dancing in back of the deal. You gotta go after it. I think I can do this real estate. I think I can provide for my family. I think I can make it with this felony. In game. You gotta go with the in game mind. But in life, I shared in a post today, I think life is more than just paying bills and then dying. It's more to life than that. It's no, without a doubt, there's 2 things that's gonna happen in life. You're gonna pay taxes and you're gonna die. And unfortunately, in this last couple of weeks, I've lost a few of my heroes. And over the year, and actually in the last year and a half, I lost 3 of my heroes. These people, they were my first investors. I call him Old Man Gary. He passed away, and I didn't even get to say goodbye to him. And then my other investor, Mike Griffey, who helped me create my first event. I had a big event in Alabama. I had over 15,000 people. He invested in me and gave me the money just because of my relationships. And we also lost another investor, Jim Rixey, who invested in us we were just learning what it was. My point is, you're going to be living for, but what is the purpose of living? Are you living for titles or testimonies? And this reminded me of when I was younger. I would go out, when I would go visit my grandma, right behind my grandma's house, there was this park that we would go play basketball in. And then this pastor would walk out, and he was the old school pastor, right? He had he would wear these shorts with the long socks with the dress shoes, right? And he would be like, we out there playing shoot basketball, and he'd be like, children, you're gonna die. And people gonna throw dirt on your head and go back into church and eat potato salad. I said, what? Like, this man had lost his mind, and then he would repeat it again. He said, children, You're gonna die. And people are gonna throw dirt on your head and go back into church and eat potato salad. I said, man, this man lost his mind. But it wasn't until I got older, I realized he was talking about dying. And what did you do with your life? Are you just gonna spend all your time on that basketball court? Or are you gonna really try to change lives? See, when you were born, everybody was looking over you while you were in your mother's arms and your father's arms, and everybody was looking over you, laughing and crying while you were in their arms crying, right? You were just sitting there crying in their mother's arms while everybody was smiling at you. But when you pass away, will you be looking down on everyone else while they're looking down at your sight, crying and missing you and being surrounded by family? Titles are testimonies. See, Gandhi lived for testimonies. Saddam Hussein lived for titles. Caesar lived for titles. Jesus lived for testimonies. What are you living for? Titles or testimonies? So take this real estate. Change your life financially, spiritually. Take back the control of your time so that you may be able to apply it to your family's life and live the legacy. Hey, I'm Mike Ely, and like I always say, I thank you so much for being here. God bless you. God keep you. May God bless you beyond your belief, but not your capacity. And remember, you're one big deal away. See you real soon, fellas and ladies. Bye.